Hey, I'm Bob, been totally blind since birth, and I'm into Power Rangers. So I'm talking about future hopes and dreams I have for Battle for the Grid season characters. So thinking about villains today, and Divatox came to mind. She'd be a fun character to add. She was quite a character in Power Rangers Turbo. Now, she did utilize a blade that extended from her gauntlet to cut her nephew Elgar's hand off, so she could use that in battle. She could also summon Elgar himself to help her out on occasion, because he could use his sword to slash at the opponent, or maybe he could use a whip. We did see him using a whip on one or two occasions, so he could draw an opponent close, so Diva could get a few hits off of him, or he could lash out at the opponent with his whip for an attack. She could also summon Piranhatrons as minions, so they have, I think, spears and other weapons of their own. So she could call them. Didn't they ride something? I need to look that up and see if I can't find out what they rode. I think perhaps some kind of motorcycle or some kind of a land vehicle. So she could summon one of them to bowl the opponent over. Kind of a hard knockdown attack there. Divatox could also summon her brother General Havoc and his Metallosaurus, and he could use a couple of beam attacks there in his Zord. She could also summon Gold Goyle. And Gold Goyle was the monster that destroyed both sets of Zords in Power Rangers Turbo in the Turbo finale, Chase into Space. And she could actually use Gold Goyle to deflect Zoner attacks, because he could either absorb attacks and shoot them back at the opponent as fireballs, or he could just reflect the actual attack itself back at the opponent. Magna Defender's Magna Blaster could be reflected back at him, and so on and so forth. Gold Goyle also fires lightning from his mouth, and he does have that gold skin that Divatox could maybe use as a shield, so she could move forward and get in close to the zoners. And she could also use torpedoes from her subcraft as missile attacks. They did make the monsters grow, yes, but I think she did use those as weapons on one or two occasions. So she could have a few projectiles of her own to use. When it comes to villains of the Machine Empire, I was thinking of King Mondo. We did see him fight, so you could utilize King Mondo as a playable character. He did use his rod. I've also heard it called a staff. He can fire lightning out of that thing. Of course, he could use it to bap the opponent. He also fires a lightning beam, I believe, from his hand. And let me see. Of course, Mondo has cogs he could utilize in battle. They could fire energy blasts from their faceplates. They also use those spears in battle, so he could summon a couple of those. Mondo could also utilize Quadra-Fighter fire from above. Of course, since the Quadra-Fighters could deploy legs and walk, he could also have attacks closer to the ground that he could use. You could have a Quadra-Fighter air attack, or you could also have a Quadra-Fighter ground attack, since they did travel on both land and in air. So Mondo, let's see, what could his super involve? Perhaps summoning the Sword of Damocles and, slashing at the opponent. He could just call that big giant sword down for a slashing attack. Or if you wanted to give King Mondo a mega assist, he could come in as a giant, because he did grow after he utilized the sword, and so he could have a Mondo mega assist at some point. And so he could call on that big sword and take some slashing attacks at your opponent. Gasket and Archerina were quite a cute couple in Power Rangers Zeo, made a formidable duo of villains, so they could be on their own team, similar to the way that Poisandra works with Sledge. So you could have Gasket summoning his wife in battle as part of some of his special attacks, or you could have Archerina be the primary fighter. And, they both have interesting attacks, because Gasket does have that sword, and he's able to fire energy beams from it. Now, Archerina, she might actually work better as the primary fighter in your Gasket and Archerina duo. You could just call in Gasket as special attacks. Archerina does fire arrows. She also can turn her bow into a sword. So, she could either, have slashing attacks or she could fire arrows. So let's say one of your characters on your team of Gasket and Archerina and whoever your other two teammates are, one of those teammates has died. Archerina could utilize one of her love arrows to use the opponent's own assist attack against him or her for just a brief second or two. Maybe she could get 2 uses out of that before the effect wore off. It wouldn't be taken over for the entirety of the match because we do want to play fair, but it would be kind of cool to utilize the opponent's assist against them. But that attack could only be utilized if one of your teammates is down and you were -1 assist. See what I'm saying? And maybe their super could involve those two just teaming up and doing a flashy combo. You could have both of them attacking with their swords. Gasket could be chopping at the enemy and then firing energy beams from his sword. And then Archerina could turn her sword into her bow and just fire a whole bunch of arrows at you as Gasket continues to slash and fire at the opponent with his sword. Or they could summon some monsters that they use. They could even bring in Louis Kaboom with his arm cannon there to help them out, because Archerina did use Louis to do some damage before he was ultimately destroyed. That'd be an interesting attack too. Yeah, you could summon Louis Kaboom there as a special attack as well to help them out. So in terms of Power Rangers, I was thinking of one of the Alien Rangers. You could have Delphine, the white Aquitar Ranger. She'd be a fun female character to add to the roster. Of course, she could utilize her Equation Saber and her laser for attacks. Maybe some of her attacks could involve her summoning the other Alien Rangers to do some different attacks, because she was the leader. So if you can't have all the Alien Rangers utilized in the game, maybe she could call on her 4 buddies there for special attacks. And maybe her super could involve summoning the Battleborgs, and they could all do that pyramid formation attack that we did see in the show. So she'd be a fun Power Ranger from season 3 to add to the mix. Anywho, I think that will do for this particular Battle for the Grid video, and I will hear you guys next time. We'll see what else we can't think up in terms of future Battle for the Grid characters. Man, this is kind of fun, actually. So may the power protect you, and have a great day.